like it shows that I'm streaming. Oh, there we go. We are live. Welcome everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, to the free webinar for an introduction on NAS100. I'm going to be showing you guys an overall overview of what NAS100 is, how you can make money trading it, how I make money trading it, and some strategies. And also I'll probably put in a quick lesson at the very end, 10-15 minutes, on some context about how NASDAQ has moved over the next 10 years and what we can expect from NAS over the next probably 3 to 5 years. Everything beyond that, you can't really predict in markets. Not predict, but you can't really forecast. And so 3 to 5 years is a pretty good time span for you to be able to build a playbook of how to take advantage of market movement. Beyond that, we're going to have to see how the world evolves. So let me just go ahead and read this chat real quick. My guy says, living the dream. Blessed up, Ron. Good to see that. Good. This will be my last weekend. I work schedule changing tomorrow. Oh, there you go. Weekends off, get some time for yourself. Love to see it. If you're on YouTube, let me know how your week is going so far, or how your weekend is going so far. Throw it up in the chats. Okay. So in case you guys are not aware, we host monthly webinars, and it's sort of like a 3-day master class to show you everything you need to know to make money trading NAS100. NAS100 is an instrument that I've been trading for about 2.5 years exclusively. My evolution, if you guys want to know a little bit about my background, I went to school to study finance. I went to get a job at Merrill Lynch as a wealth advisor, worked there for 3-4 years. I had a Series 7 license. I was a wealth manager. I was a registered broker dealer, meaning I could take trades from my clients. I could recommend them investment decisions, and I could recommend them specific investments for their accounts. Over time, I started to get introduced to trading. I first started trading Bitcoin in 2015. And then I really got into trading other cryptocurrencies in 2016, right before the massive boom. That was my introduction. Forex, I started trading about 2017. And then from 2017 to 2019, I was just trying to trade all Forex pairs, gold, commodities, oil, everything in between, with no success. Eventually, I settled that I wanted to trade gold and I wanted to trade S&P 500. And so I started trading those exclusively. In 2021, I shifted over to trading NAS100 because there was a massive tech boom. We had just printed a lot of money. And this is something I'll be showing you at the end of this stream if you guys stick around. And if you stick around, I'll give you a promo code if you guys want to show up to the NAS100 bootcamp. That's on November 5th. So stick around to the end of the stream. But I started trading NAS100 because we printed a record amount of money in COVID. Tech stocks, we're going to see a lot of money going into them because it's a speculative environment and there's a lot of extra money in the system. And because of that, I started looking at NAS100. I was buying NAS. I made so much money in 2021. I decided to leave my job in October and, in August. Did not have that much success when I first left my job. For 2 or 3 months, I was struggling. I wasn't having a lot of success because of the pressure. Eventually, I recentered myself. I optimized my strategy. I really honed in on what I knew worked over time. And I've been trading NAS100 successfully ever since. Some of you guys might know me from the YouTube live streams. I stream ideally 3-4 times a week in a New York session where I trade my strategy live in front of everybody. And so if you guys are interested in learning this tested strategy and learning how to do it for yourself, November 5th to the 8th, we are hosting a bootcamp exclusively for serious traders. If you guys are interested, the link will be in the description. And as a token of appreciation for you guys showing up to this weekend stream, we'll give you a custom promo code that you can use for that. Now, let's talk about NAS100 in case you guys are completely new. Most of you know this information, so bear with me while I try to break this down for some of the more really just people who have never heard of NAS100 or just need a refresher. So you guys know traders make money by buying and selling different instruments. And there's a ton of different ways to trade. So the most common way that people think of trading is stock trading or spot trading. You buy an asset at a certain price, you want to sell it for a different price. And usually you have to buy the stock and then wait probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then sell it off. When you trade Forex, typically you're either trading a CFD, which is called a contract for difference, or you're trading futures. Both of those are not the same as spot trading, and they're not really the same as just buying an asset and holding it. A CFD contract, which is what most Forex traders are trading, or especially if you're trading indices, you may be using some of these instruments. It's an agreement that you make with your broker that I'm taking a trade from this price to this price. And if the market goes from this price to this price, you have to pay me. And so you never own any asset. You never have to take, what is it called? You basically just never have to take ownership over any securities. You're just making a bet with your broker. And if the bet goes through, they got to pay you. And if the bet does not go through, you got to pay them. And so understanding the different instruments and how you can make money in markets is very important. How do you choose an instrument that goes towards the country that you live in? CFDs are not legal everywhere. Futures might not be the best thing for you. Some of you guys might choose to invest as opposed to trade because then you don't have the time to trade, and really investing would make you more money in the long term. And so now that you've understood that there's different markets and there's different ways to take advantage of these markets based on whatever's going on in your life, your goals, your trading personality, now we can start to dive in a little bit deeper about what NAS100 is specifically. So NAS100 is very simply an index of some of the top stocks in America. So there's different types of indexes or indices that track different sectors of the economy. US 30, very common index that everybody wants to trade. Raise your hand if you want to be the next Q Banks, right? Those are the top industrial stocks in the top 500 companies in America. So the S&P 500 is the top 500 names. The US 30 is the top 30 names out of those 500. So a lot of people will trade S&P 500 or SPX or SPY and US 30 the same, because the top 30 names in the index really do move the whole thing. Now, NAS100, for me, I consider this a technology index. It's the top 100 technology stocks. And you can see, because the top 10 names, you're going to have the Apple, Google, Microsoft, you're going to have technology sector names. But by definition, NAS100 is just non-financial companies. So it's the top 100 non-financial companies on the NASDAQ exchange. There are different major exchanges in America. There's three major ones. You have the New York Stock Exchange, you have the NASDAQ, you have the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And so you're looking at these different big conglomerates, let everybody trade stocks on them, and then they make indexes of the top performing names in those exchanges. Now, I'm going to pause real quick, put something in the chats if you guys are still awake, if you guys are still with me. Let me know if you guys are still alive. Let me know if you guys are good. Frenchie says, thanks for taking the time out your weekend, brother. I just quit my lower income job last night, so I'll be using my weekend to spend time with family more and touch up. Frenchie, I love to hear that, bro. That's what I love to see. Congratulations, and I'm really, really happy for you. My boy said he quit his job, and now he's spending time with his family. That's what this is all about. Okay, so things that we'll cover in the program, and what I want to do for a quick second is actually talk to a few people who just recently went through the boot camp, and I want you guys to ask questions. So throw up a few questions in the YouTube comments that you guys want to ask these folks, and then we'll bring a few people on and kind of just get their perspective on it. Jacob Chavez says 100 emoji. He says W. Yo, him John Doe just gave me a dub. Let's go. Low-key Beat says keep going with the fire emojis. I'm alive. I have the storm. I'm glad to hear you're alive. Should you have me worried for a second? He says, vamos, always learning, and continue to cover everything. Love to see it. Congrats on getting out the rat race. Love to see it. All right, throw up a few questions that you guys have for the people in the boot camp, and just make them as real as possible. A few questions I'm going to ask them, which will probably be on some of you guys' mind. I already have them loaded up, so I want to hear what you guys got to say first, and then I'll bring some of these folks on. By the way, just while I wait for those questions to load up, come on now. Who was on the YouTube stream with me last week? Where is it? October 27th. And this is the one from yesterday. Let me show you guys this. Come on, y'all. This is from the stream yesterday. All right, so we'll put these side by side. We were looking at that consolidation breakup. Look at the price that I was pointing out. 320. 320 was that price that I was pointing out here on yesterday's live stream. And then lo and behold, 186 points on a Friday. Unbelievable. How much capital would you recommend starting to trade NAS? Okay, so I don't know if the people on the Zoom, you guys can see these questions. You guys can take whichever question you want to answer. Anybody who did the boot camp that's on the Zoom call with me, if anybody wants to answer these, we got, what was the aha moment for you guys? Like, what was one of the big sort of eye openers for you? How much capital would you recommend starting to trade NAS? I can touch on that later, but you guys can answer that one as well. Biggest takeaway that you're implementing from the boot camp? Let's start with that one. S-Test Trading says, what's the biggest takeaway that you're implementing from the boot camp? Who wants to take that one? Bryce, Roman, Haran, anybody?
I can take it for you. Hold on. I'm just gonna make sure my other thing's muted. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, it's Roman here. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the boot camp, buddy, this is probably the most in-depth training video or training course that you'll take. Like this thing has all the information. The way NAS moves, like you have it down like 10 out of 10. Like you don't miss about, you know what I mean? Like it's so accurate that like it's hard to, it's almost too easy or too accurate the way you look at it. Like when I trade NAS, I look at it and then it's just like right in front of you all the time. And it's just like it hits every time.
So would you say kind of going through the boot camp, it demystified NAS? Like it used to look random. There didn't used to be as clear of a pattern. And now you just see it over and over and over again.
It's over and over and over. Ever since we finished, like I didn't really have a losing day for about like 10 days. I finished in blue all the time. And then, yeah, it's, I mean, I had my own personal mistakes there on Thursday, but that's my own fault. But other than that, it's, this is 10 out of 10.
Love it.
You won't get this much information.
Now, I want to ask a follow-up, Roman, because there was the technical aspect of it, which is the strategy and how the market actually moves. But then there's also some of those tips with risk management and how to protect your profits and stuff. Which one of those do you feel like is having the biggest impact on just like the overall profits, like the money?
The way you scale your take profits, like the, you know what I mean? Like on the fibs, that's like the most ideal. Like those numbers are where it goes. Like it's going there, 100%.
Would you say like psychology and mindset doesn't play as big of a factor if you know what you're doing?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I found that too, bro. It's like if you don't know what you're doing, you should be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't look for anything else anymore.
Love to see it, bro. I appreciate it.
There's no reason to look for anything else. So
yeah, and Roman, feel free to take however many of these questions come up, because I feel like you do have a pretty good perspective on this, and you do have a good sense of like the before and after. And so yeah, feel free to take whichever one of these comes up. I wouldn't be surprised to see you getting interviewed by Bloomberg soon. Keep it up, David. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, when Bitcoin hits $1 million, I'll buy Bloomberg. I'm gonna call it Royberg, all right, or Bloomroy. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we cross that bridge, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Kamal says, how much capital would you recommend starting to trade NAS comfortably? Look, this whole comfort thing, comfort comes from confidence, and confidence comes from number one is knowledge, and then number two is experience. You're not going to be comfortable in any environment until you know what you're doing, and until you've done it enough times to really be comfortable in that environment. So first things first, the strategy, you have to become very, very clear about what you're looking for and confident in the execution. When that happens, the capital is not going to be the question. I tell everybody, your job is to find a strategy, a positive expectancy system that will yield you a specific percentage every month. And then once you can make that percentage consistently, go get as much capital as you possibly can. Now with NASDAQ, I wouldn't say, like, small accounts is a trap for NAS. because you lose one or two trades, it's going to start to play in your site, play on your mindset. It's good. You're going to start to hesitate on the execution. Prop firms for me have been the most beneficial, and specifically FTMO, because they have zero commissions on index trading for now. So I would take advantage of platforms that are doing these things, that they are incentivizing a perfect environment for you to go make money on instruments. If there's no commissions on NASDAQ trading, like, you guys understand what that means? I went to 2 unregulated brokers with the same strategy. I made $12,000 on the platforms, and I paid around $7,000 in commissions. Now on NASDAQ, there's zero commission, or on FTMO, there's zero commissions on NAS trading. And so it's not just a strategy that plays into your profits. The platform you're using is a big deciding factor. The fees that they charge, these are things that nobody pays attention to. I make 12 grand on FTMO. The only thing I have to worry about is the profit split. If I make 12 grand on this other unregulated platform or one of these brokerages, then I'm going to have to pay massive fees, whether it's swap if I hold a trade, or it's commissions, or obviously whatever other fees like spread. Okay. When people tell me, why don't I trade my own capital? You have to understand how the strategy works, not just from a technical perspective, but just overall. Let me see. What is a prop firm you support? They're basically all the same, but is there one that you prefer? Yeah, I just said FTMO. I don't have a relationship with them, but they've paid out consistently for many years. All the things that have ever happened with FTMO have been my fault, if I'll be honest. Really, it's just the accounts I lost, the bad decisions I made, that was on me. The platform itself has been very professional. Now, the prop firm space is going through a lot of challenges right now. You're going to start to see companies go out of business. Some of the newer and smaller firms will most likely go out of business. And so be careful where you put your money, and be careful where you put your trust. You work on something for 60 days or 3 months, and you build up profits that you're trying to pull out, and then all of a sudden they get frozen on the platform. You do not want to be in those situations. So try to aim for the most reputable firms if you're going to go with that route, or any route. Pick companies that you trust. Okay. Biggest takeaway, aha moment. Is there an aha moment for you, Roman? Was there like a one aha moment that really stood out above anything else, or not?
Sorry, I'm just in my work Zoom. Aha moment. It's just, I don't know, like it's once you start using the the strategy, or the, I don't know, like once you start trading the way you do, like I almost, like, I second guess myself a bit, because it's just like it's always there, and it's just like I'm like when I was trading, I'm like, it can't just be this, I don't want to say easy, but I'm like, it can't be this accurate. So I would second guess myself. I'm like, is like, I would enter it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, I'm like, this is just, it's wrong. And then sure enough, it's always going, like it's hitting up and it's hitting down. Right.
For sure.
But I mean,
how much of that do you think plays in? Because for me, the whole idea of making easy, like making quick money or making easy money, is a very unnatural concept for
yeah,
all of us to understand. So when you're in a trade and it's just working out, you're like, again, it can't be this easy. Like, I gotta find a
100%.
way to fuck this up, all right? Because it's not supposed to work this way. How much of that do you feel like is holding traders back, or held you back?
100%. It's well, I mean, I've been trading for 3 years, so I'm still trying to delete every other way of trading, right? I still kind of get like, I'm only trying to focus on this one way of trading, and it's literally, it's there every single day, and you don't have to trade all day. You have literally an hour window that it's there. Instead of
So
staring at the charts for 3-4 hours, you just look at it once, and it's there. It's there almost every single day.
that's it. Okay. So what did you think that trading was before it clicked, like before you saw the model? And then what do you think trading is now? Like, what is really the difference between old you and then new you?
I mean, trade less is, I mean, what, like old
That's
me,
like,
I'd want to, or old me, I'd want to stare at the charts for 5-6 hours trying to catch everything. You know what I mean? And then you just get miserable. Like, if you stare at the charts for 5 hours and you're constantly trying to enter trades, like I get miserable. Just like, I get pissed off and whatever. Like, I want to be in and out. I don't want to be doing this all day. Like, You know what I mean? I want the freedom from this. So your time session that you trade, it's the most accurate for the way you trade. And it's literally, you can be in and out of trade in 15 minutes and call it a day and go enjoy your day.
Now, if someone didn't want to trade like me or just didn't have the same schedule as me, do you feel like there's still something to take away from the course that they can implement to their own strategy? Like how to build a good
Absolutely.
strategy or how to look at time sessions and stuff?
Absolutely. You can look at other time sessions like this, like it's yeah, like I mean, you get all morning to trade. Like I mean, I'm sure it's there. I haven't really traded London. I'm in a pretty different time zone, but like I mean, just your mindset, everything on there, just everything's 10 out of 10.
Love it. If you guys stick around to the end of the stream, I'm going to share a few of my 10 rules for trading NAS. Now, obviously, guys, it's not going to be a lot of context behind these because it does take some, you got to know what the rules mean. But I will share with some of you guys how it looks to build a rule set that you need to follow. These are like rules of the road. Roman, I appreciate that, brother.
Anyways, I got to get off though. I got to get back to work here. So you guys enjoy.
My man, I was just going to say, all right, we're going to do a little bit of education here. I'm going to show you some context about what NASDAQ has been doing over the past, let's call it 10 years. And this should give you a pretty good primer of how this market moves. And also, if you guys don't want to trade NAS100, you guys can implement this to whatever instrument you're trading. Go back and look at the higher time frame on, let's say, GBPs or Euro USD or USD JPY, and look at the biggest price movements on the chart and ask yourself what happened in that time. Because whatever those things are, that's what really moves the market. That's what you got to be paying attention to when you look at fundamentals or news or whatever. If you see a massive shift in central bank policy or interest rate policy, and that could drive your pair to the moon, you got to be aware of that because that's your payday. That's the big, big, big opportunity for you to not just swing trade, but for you to daily trade in between those massive swing positions. So let's go through this. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the chats, load them up. I'm going to just explain what's happening on the charts, and then we'll take it step by step. So in front of me, I have the NAS100 CFD chart from Pepperstone. Pepperstone is a brokerage. Not all charts are created equal because the feed that we're seeing here is given to us by Pepperstone. And so they have this aggregation system, which means that they just put together all these different quotes and try to give us an accurate idea of where price is. A lot of so this one is saying 14,187. This one is saying 14,185. And this one is saying 14,191. So depending on where they're getting all their feeds from, how big their brokerage is, you're going to have slightly different quotes. So how do you choose which one to look at on TradingView if you're going to be actively trading this? Whichever one matches your MetaTrader 4 quote, whichever one matches your broker's quote the closest, that's the one that you want to be following. So side note about that. Let's look at the last 10 years of NAS100. So in case you guys don't know, NAS100, we covered this at the beginning, is the top 100 technology names or non-financial company names on the NASDAQ exchange or in the US stock markets. In the 2008 financial crisis, the tech names were not that big. So the iPhone really came out in 08, 09. Some of the biggest technologies that drove Amazon and that drove Tesla and that drove Google and Netflix and all those companies didn't really happen until this period here. Okay. And so prior to, let's call it 2016, there really wasn't a lot of attraction to NAS100 as opposed to, let's say, US 30 and some of the industrial stocks. And just overall, the markets weren't moving that crazy. So in 2008, we had the global financial crisis. Anybody that studies financial history or that studies financial markets needs to understand the context of how we got to now. And the way that we all break up the timeline, if you're going to be studying economics professionally, is that there is a pre-2008 period, the 08 financial crisis, then there's a post period. And then if you ask me personally, from my perspective as a junior economist, I would say we also have whatever happened before 2020 is irrelevant because what happened in 2020 was so big that it changed financial markets forever. And we'll explain that here shortly. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the chats. And if you guys have questions about the NAS100 bootcamp that we're hosting from November 5th to the 8th, ask them in the chat. I see a lot of the members that were on that bootcamp in the YouTube chat. So you guys can ask them and just have a conversation in the live chat. So from 2008, we had a global financial crisis where there was a lot of over leveraging in the system. Some of the biggest brokerages, funds, hedge funds failed, and a lot of money just got evaporated into thin air. As a result, the government launched two programs. There was TARP, which was a government program to bail out some of the banks. And then there was quantitative easing, which was the Federal Reserve's funny way of saying money printing. And so there was three quantitative easing facilities, or three quantitative easing programs that were issued. There was the one in 0809, there was the one in 2011, there was the one in 13, and then there was the one in 14. Now, the reason that and what they were doing is just basically pumping money into the economy. So you guys can see between all of those periods, the money was being pumped in. And then slowly over time, we started to see that money find its way into the economy. That money was being invested by these companies to hire people, to grow their businesses, to expand globally. And so stock prices started to go up. A lot of money started being invested in the stock markets, and Apple and Google and Amazon became trillion-dollar behemoths. Okay. The reason I say 2020 is so important is because the crash that we saw seemed so crazy at the time. And now when you zoom out, it's basically irrelevant, especially compared to the last year. Okay. So what happened is this was also the quickest recovery. In the span of 4 to 7 weeks, the markets hit a bottom and then completely reversed and broke the highs. The QE facility, this was QE4. So remember, there was 3 quantitative easing programs that were launched. The QE4 facility that was implemented in 2020 was bigger than these 3 combined. They printed close to, and the number is really hard for me to pinpoint, but I wrote an article about this. I say it's about $17 trillion was pumped into the economy in 2020. 17 trillion. There's a metric that says that 34% of all US dollars in circulation, not the cash, but including the debt, a lot of credit that's flowing in the system, was printed in 2020 or in the last 3 years. Now, you guys can think there's been a 100-year history of the dollar since the Bretton Woods Committee in 1971, since the first implementation of the US dollars before World War II. You take all the money that was printed, 33% was printed just in the last 3 years. That is criminal. And that's why we've been seeing an inflation crisis like we've never dealt with before. Okay, so long story short, they pumped a shit ton of money into the system. We had a massive recovery. Okay, so just in 2020 to 2022, everything went up. And so when I told you guys I made enough money to quit my job, it was in this period where you could literally wake up every morning and just buy NASDAQ. Put something in the YouTube comments if you're still alive. I feel like I'm losing some folks. I feel like some people are asleep. Are we good? Guys, look, I understand that history lessons are not fun, but this shit is important. If you don't know how these markets move, how are you going to take advantage of these big swings? I did not quit my job by just, every day just hoping for the best. No, I realized they were printing money and I bought that shit every fucking day like my life depends on it. And who's here? Gali remembers this. If Jacob was here, he would remember this. T was my roommate at the time. T remembers this. It was wake up and buy NAS, not because we were being ignorant, because you can go back and look at the articles I wrote back in 2019, 2020, and 2021 to show that this was deliberate. I was taking all that money and pumping it into crypto. Why? Because crypto was seeing the same exact pump. This is not rocket science. Estes is taking notes. We good. I find this information interesting. Yeah. As long as you're taking notes, that's what's important. Walter says in every box there's an 886. Walter, now you're being too loud. Now you're exposing too much. All right, chill. You got to save some for the boot camp. Beautiful. Okay. So then what happened here in 2022? Any guesses? Any guesses? What happened here at the start of 2022? Matter of fact, let me actually tell you, because this is a lot of people really don't know the story. Jerome Powell realized that we had gone way too far. Now, first, listen to me very closely. In the summer of 2021, we knew that inflation was running hot, and we knew that we were already out of the pandemic. We had already recovered bigger than we've ever recovered before. In the summer of 2021, the Federal Reserve should have taken their foot off the gas and stopped pumping so much money. This is when we should have had our warning sign. But no, they continue to print hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a month, well into the end of the year. Now, something happened right before 2022. Everybody in the world saw this crash coming, and I wrote about this. Like, I was calling this crash better than just about anybody else, calling the top of the market for three big reasons. Number one, Elon and Jeff Bezos were selling a shit ton of their own shares. Okay, whenever you see him sell Tesla, well, obviously now he needs to finance his Twitter deal. But before that, when you see Jeff Bezos and you see Elon and you see some of the top executives, first, they were quitting their jobs. You saw a lot of the top executives basically resigning at the top of the market because they wanted to walk away with a win. Okay, Elon and all these guys were selling. They know something we don't every single time. And so that was my first sign that, hey, we might have hit the top of the market. Second, Jerome Powell was very well aware that inflation was running hot and that we were about to have to reckon with the beast, okay, and pay for the damages of having printed all of this money. So that was number two. And then number three, basically the whole rest of the world was calling for, there was about to be a massive global hyperinflation crisis. Prices were up way too high in too many countries, and that's where you have people taking the streets, and that's where people got to go to war. There was a lot of things that were telling the Fed, if you don't get this under control, there is a civil war about to happen. If you guys don't think that inflation can cause a civil war, look, when you're working your ass off 70 hours a week, and you're not spending money on shit except for food, water, and energy, and you cannot feed your family, at that point, the pitchforks come out. That's how it works. So they were willing to crash the markets and the economy because, yeah, if you're in a food line or the unemployment line, you're not going to bring up a pitchfork as long as there's jobs. But if there's a hyperinflation crisis and the 75% of the country that lives paycheck to paycheck can no longer afford to feed their families, yeah, there's going to be a massive issue, which is why the Federal Reserve started to implement something called quantitative tightening, this new thing, which was the opposite of money printing, which is like a vacuum to take money out of the economy. Now look at this. Jerome Powell, okay, look, people give him a bunch of shit. I say Jerome Powell's a G. I say Jerome Powell is my hero because I had just quit my job. I had 3 months of losing, and then I finally had a lot of success in November and December of 2021. I finally had money to buy gifts for everybody. People remember me that year. I was fucking Santa Claus. And this is called the Santa Claus rally. In December, the market should have crashed, but Jerome Powell went out there in the last Fed meeting of the year and told everybody, no, we're fine. And that was the famous quote of inflation is transitory. This shit's not going to last. Guys, we're good. Relax. Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy time with your family. You don't have to panic. And so we had the we call it the Santa Claus rally. The day after New Year's, on January 1st, Jerome Powell does a press conference at some New York, some kind of New York event or whatever, and the markets absolutely shit the bed. Okay, January of 2022, we saw the largest single point drop since the COVID pandemic. And then Jerome Powell tried to basically, calm down the markets and say, no, don't worry about it. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. They continued to print money until the summer of 2022. These fucking idiots saw that inflation was running at 6% going into the year, and they continued to fucking print money until the summer of 2022. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be? And then in the summer of 2022, inflation in the States hit 9.1%. I'll put it in perspective of the average person. Most people living paycheck to paycheck cannot afford a 9% inflation. And I'll put it in perspective of large investors. For every $1 billion you have sitting around, you're losing $90 million. Imagine if that shit was cash. 90 mil is just rotting in the ground. You're just losing it every year. That is unacceptable for everybody. And so they started implementing quantitative tightening in the summer of 2022, taking out $100 billion a month. You're like, well, Roy, $100 billion sounds like a lot of money to take out, right? I don't even have $1 million. I don't even have $10,000, Roy. $100 billion sounds like a lot. Okay, let's do the math. 100 billion. If you do that shit for a whole year, for 12 months, you have 1.2 trillion. Okay. We pumped $17 trillion into the system. How many years do we have to take out 100 billion a month to make up for that shit? I'd say about 12 years. So we didn't even make a dent. And then at some point in the year, what happened? Silicon Valley Bank and some of the regional banks out west that were holding a lot of speculative debt on their balance sheets went under. And the Federal Reserve and the Treasury had to come in and bail them out and pump hundreds of billions of dollars into the system. If I was to pull up the Federal Reserve balance sheet, if I was to pull up the amount of money put into commercial banks over the past year, you would see all of the progress that we had made reducing the Fed balance sheet. So it was like, you can imagine this was 8 months of progress undone in one single candle, 1 week, where the Fed basically just pumped so much money into the banks that they undid all the quantitative tightening. So you're like, well, Roy, yeah, how did the markets recover even though they were, like nothing had really changed? It's because they kept pumping money into the system. Now, what's about to happen is that we're going into a correction because all of the mistakes that we had made starting from 2020 to 2022 to pumping more money into Silicon Valley Bank and some of the regional banks, it's all going to catch up with us. GDP just came out at almost 5% yesterday, the 5% annualized rate, which means that the economy is still growing really hot. When the economy is growing, inflation continues to go up. Now, you guys can think about inflation as a brick wall, and we're on a train. If we don't get this under control, we're going to hit this brick wall and we're all going to die. There's nothing that you can do to stop hyperinflation from completely crushing your society, your economy. Hyperinflation is about the worst thing that can happen to a society. And that's what really causes some of the worst crimes in human history. So the Fed knows that if it's between saying, fuck your stocks, we're going to crash this shit, and having hyperinflation, they're going to absolutely destroy the economy. And in order to destroy the economy, people have to lose their jobs. These are the two big metrics that we're watching. There's unemployment, and then there's GDP. Okay, and consumer spending and shit, but we'll talk about that some other time. So in order for inflation to come down now, people have to lose their jobs. And then when people lose their jobs, we're going to enter a recession. And so what I think is happening right now is the market knows this. We're having this early sell-off. Once we hit a recession, there's this like, I talked to a lot of people back from Bank of America from my old days, Bank of America research team, and Chris Heisey, the chief investment officer that runs Bank of America's research team. He does briefings every single morning, and a lot of the analysts at Bank of America watch those, especially from the New York offices and some of the chief investment offices. So I'll talk to a lot of folks from there and kind of get the sentiment. Bank of America research provides information to JP Morgan and Goldman and Credit Suisse, and all those folks hop on those daily briefings. So Bank of America research has some of the most amount of commercial accounts open. And so people are on that platform, they got data. Who's paying what, who got the money, where's the money going? They got that data. So I'll talk to some folks every once in a while, read reports. There's this ghost, there's this like lore, there's this theory, there's this thing, whispers going through the grapevines that the Fed is going to start to lower interest rates and start to print money next year as a result of that upcoming recession. So you can think about the markets as they look 6 months in advance. They vote 6 months in advance. If they think the Fed is going to start to print money, then this thing is going to buy up. If they think the Fed is not going to print money in 6 months, this thing is going to sell off. And so what the market is telling us right now is that for the next 6 months, we're not going to see the Fed shifting their policy. At some point, we're going to hit a floor. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, there's a recession. There's a recession. And that's where all of you might expect the markets to crash when you open up Yahoo Finance and Bloomberg, and they're all screaming recession, and Joe Biden saying recession. You would expect the markets to then crash. It might be right here. You would expect it to keep crashing. No, no, no. At that point, the markets know that the Fed will print, and that's where we'll see the recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, that was historical context and overview of NAS100. I gave you guys a few ideas on how to make money trading this earlier. And what I want from all of you is that if you're interested in really learning a tried and tested strategy on how to consistently make money day trading NAS100, head on over to our website at chartaddictsfx.com or click the link in the description. For more information, the NAS100 Bootcamp is a 3-day complete masterclass on how to understand NAS100, how it moves, as well as a proven and tested strategy that you can start implementing right away. Link in the description. If you guys are interested or have any questions, make sure to put those in the chat. Leave a like and subscribe if this is your first time here. If it's not your first time here, great to see y'all. Walter, good to have you on. Sky Blue, you already know the deal. Good to have you on here. I'm getting caught up. I'm loving the history lesson. Good, you got your head on straight. How long are we going? You're asking the wrong questions, baby. You're asking all the wrong questions. I got a huge page of notes. Scott Adams, I'm proud of you. Send me a picture of your notes if you guys took them. Send me a picture of all the notes you took, if you took any, and post them on Instagram. Send them in the DMs on Instagram or just tag us on your story. Cool. Let me see. Impressive. This is fire. We're awake. Okay, good. Dope. Hike rates. All right. Indeed, great lesson. Walter. Yep. Roy, keep going. I love learning. Hey, I love that, bro. This is the right crowd for me. But I think we're going to leave it here. Too much information means that you're not going to really let some stuff soak in. So if we call it a day right here, I think we'll have the best chance of everybody really walking away with something tangible. And that's really the goal. So I highly recommend you guys check out the NAS Bootcamp. Trust me, you're in good hands. I'm the one teaching the class. And just judging by this, right, the slight agenda, we're going to be talking about my 10 rules for day trading NAS. These are things that I've put together over years of making mistakes and having successes. I'll give you guys my system, what NAS is, how does it move, why does it move, and when does it move. My 10 rules for day trading NAS, as well as some of the things that have the biggest impact, how to day trade it, et cetera, et cetera. I will walk through the business model of how the markets take money from you. We gotta bring the boogeyman from out the shadows, people, because it all seems like the markets are random and that they're targeting you and that everything is against you and that you just can't make sense of what's happening on the charts until you have a little bit of exposure, until you know exactly what you're looking for. At that point, the boogeyman is out of the shadows. You can look, say, this is it. And just like Roman was saying earlier on the stream, you start to see it bright as day every single time, and it's like clockwork. And then the more experience you have identifying this pattern, identifying this model, the more successful you can continue to be, right? We told you, mindset is not as important when you really know what you're doing. When you don't know what you're doing, yeah, you got to be Gandhi. You got to be sitting there keeping your heart rate down in a trade and you don't even know what you're looking for. That is a different level of mindset. I commend a lot of you guys who are going down that route. For the rest of you, I recommend that you just learn how to do this right the first time so you don't have a lot of the mindset issues and all of this second guessing and some of those, all the people that learned it the right way from the jump, they never have to unlearn bad habits and they start to see success right away. Everybody that's just like trying to undo years and years of bullshit conditioning, I mean, you're still going to be successful, but just know that what you're up against. Just know that the challenges that you have might not be the same as the challenges that others have in the same shoes. Something about US 30, but the whole thing is called NAS100. You're asking me about US 30. Thanks for explaining the recession. I love it. Lidrom, are you from India? Or are we, what part of India are you from? When is the boot camp? It's November 5th to the 8th. They typically run from 7:30 p.m. or from 7 p.m. I don't know, 7:30 p.m. I believe to 8:30. Now, if you're not available at those specific times, because I'm in Eastern time, the recordings are available. All of the exams will be available to you. And if you want to get your certificate, you'll still be able to go through the final exam, get your certificate, and then be able to really have said that you understand and know the full scope of how to make money trading NAS and what NAS really is all about. Thanks for the... yeah, it's a wait list. No, it shouldn't be a wait list. Here. Wait, live classes. If you guys are also looking for one-on-one coaching with me personally, you guys can check out our coaching programs or just reach out to us, info@chartaddictsfx.com. info@chartaddictsfx.com. NAS100.com. Yeah, I mean, we did close registration for this bootcamp or for this master class, but we have another master class in December if you guys are interested. And honestly, if any spots open up, we got you. If you came to this, if you guys were on this stream and you're interested in this bootcamp, reach out to us. We have a custom promo code for you. Or what's the best way to do this? Let's do this. Because if anybody watches to the end of the stream, y'all deserve it. I'm going to give you a promo code and I'm going to have my team make this. G or anybody that's on the team right now, if you guys can cook up this promo code real quick, let's give everybody who's watching this 50% off. Let's get everybody who's made it to the very end of this stream and is still watching 50% off. Let me do NAS. Let's do NAS webinar 50. NAS webinar 50. That's so ugly. NAS webinar 50. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have somebody on the team cook this up, make sure that it's active. So give it about 10, 15 minutes in case you guys are trying to rush in. NAS100 webinar 50. If you guys were on this webinar, congratulations if you made it to the end of this stream. Everybody else, they played themselves. Okay. So great to see all of you guys. And if you took some time out of your day today to go through like a history lesson and some context about how stocks work and all this other shit, congratulations. So, you know, people are just rubbing the crust out of their eyes, just basically barely crawling to their first meal. And you're already out here basically getting an economics degree from one of the best NAS traders in the world. Congratulations. All right, y'all. Take it easy. Happy and safe trading. Go tell somebody you love that you love them. Go spend time with your families and take your eyes off the charts. Great to see you guys later. All right. Peace. And just like that. All right.